Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We have a huge show tonight. It is Oregon week. It is go time. We are ready to roll. Again, we appreciate you guys for hanging. But this is a week we've been waiting for. A lot of intel on what's going on. Oregon week team is going to leave on Friday. Stay body time. It's interesting. Also, they should leave Thursday. But again, Ryan Day has got Chip Kelly. A lot of NFL team contacts that kind of advise on how you do these time zone games because they're tough, especially if it's an early kick. This is actually a pretty good one because it's a 3:30 out there, so it's kind of like playing a night game, East Coast time. So they'll keep the body time at the same mode. But this is going to be this is a challenge. Again, this is a long flight. Again, I know it's I make a big deal of it, but again, if you've flown 6 hours on a flight and then you have to get up and play the best game of your life. You got to make sure you stay hydrated. You got to make sure that you eat right. You got to make sure that you get your rest. And it's hard to rest for 6 hours on a plane. But I'm sure they'll be taking the big boy out there, not the little crappy charter jet. So as always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all that you guys do. Being a part of the show. Again, this is a huge show because you guys make it one each and every night. We're going to break some film down tonight. We're going to watch a little bit of Oregon, Boise State tonight. This is also a Scoop Ultra chat. So if you guys are Scoop Ultra members, you get a free super chat tonight. So just put some asterisks in front of your question, and I will try to snag it. If I miss it, I apologize, but please ask it again until I see it. Again, the chat goes really fast sometimes, and this is going to be a big chat tonight. So again, I appreciate you guys, and the mods in the chat help flag it down. But as always, going to bring in my friend Devin. Dev, we've got a big week. Obviously, Oregon, this is the game everyone has been counting on, everyone's been waiting for. As you know, this is the game that you're actually going to. So I'm sure you're really excited to dodge another hurricane. And I'm going to say real quick to people like Donald and Karen Rossbeck, some of our people that are down in Florida, be safe, be careful. We are praying for you and thinking of you. I was in a hurricane when I was a young kid, Hurricane Andrew in the early 90s, and they're scary. So again, you guys be as safe as you can be. I know a lot of you guys are bunkering down because that thing's going to hit, I think, the next day. So we're thinking about you guys. Just be careful. Get out of there if you have to. And we pray that it doesn't harm South Florida, because we have a ton of Ohio State fans down there. A lot of you guys listen to us from down there, so we're thinking about you guys. Don't think everyone in the Scoop family isn't praying for you guys. So hopefully this will be a smaller hurricane than they're projecting. But Devin, on to the Oregon game. What are your thoughts and feelings? Again, the more I watch Oregon, the better I feel about Ohio State's chances. What are your thoughts?
I first want to say that I second what you said. My prayers are out there for people that are going to be in the direct line of this hurricane. If you're in the Tampa area, they're strongly suggesting that you leave. So they just canceled all flights. I think they shut down the Tampa airport. So I switched my plane tickets, flying out of Atlanta now. So I'm excited, man. But, at the beginning of the year, watching Oregon play, you kind of saw a team that didn't really play much like a team. They didn't have a lot of stuff figured out. They didn't have their O-line figured out at all. And they didn't really play like, they've been playing together for a long time. And I think that that was kind of my worry with that team to begin with. They got a bunch of transfer players. I don't think they got a lot of people coming back like Ohio State does anyway. So I expect our veteran team to come in there, and I expect, kind of like we saw in Iowa, man, for us to have a lot of rushing yards, a lot of passing yards, and I'm just still sold on the physicality of this team. I feel like every time they've played, they showed their toughness, they've showed their physicality, and I don't think Oregon is going to be able to handle that. I think that I could see Oregon maybe making this game a little close right off the rip, maybe. But, I can just see Ohio State wearing this team down, man. A lot of veterans on this team. O-line's been playing lights out. But for me, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to our D-line. For me personally, I think our D-line, it's hard to put a value on if the O-line's more important in this game or the D-line. I'm just telling you where I'm personally at. I really want to see how much pressure we get on Dylan Gabriel, because I think that is going to be one of the biggest keys to this game. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. I've just noticed that when you put him in pressure situations, or even if you hit him after he throws it, he doesn't make as smart as decisions. So, I expect Jim Knowles to have some things drawn up. I expect Chip Kelly, to do some different things too, some stuff we haven't seen before. A lot of people have built that up when they've watched our defensive play calling and our offensive play calling. When they don't like those calls, they're like, oh, he's just saving stuff for the Oregon game. Well, we're going to find out. And I believe and have faith in our coaches, veteran coaches as well. They've been through this ringer before. So I think they got some stuff in their back pocket too. So I'm interested to see what we come out and what we do. I think the team's going to be ready. And I'm excited to go watch the game for sure.
Yeah, I am too. I'm going to start digging into some of these super chats. Going to go to the film room real quick, and I'm going to break this down, and I'll come back to you, Beth and Karis. We've got a really nice read option. I think this is going to be something that's going to be huge. Going into this game, I think that the key to it is going to be Will Howard running the ball, being a running quarterback. I think that it's something that can really take the crowd out of the game. You don't need everything to go right. And this is something that we did down in the goal line where we went double tight ends. Again, we're balanced, completely balanced at two receivers or two tight ends. This is an old school formation, read option. We kind of influence here, to touch him here. In general, if there's contact here, you're going to give this ball. But I think that this might have been a call to Q run just because of how. Where Trey's hitting this, it doesn't look like he's anticipating it. I think this is a Q run all the way. Because Trey, just by his stance, he doesn't look like he's ready to attack the line. Again, he'd be like running into darkness right here. Plus, there's a free hitter. So I think that this was a influence here, work up here, kind of take two. And then you're off to the races if you're Will Howard. Basically, this is a play where one guy has to get a block, and you have to bank on this influence block being enough to disrupt him. And again, our receiver could do a little better here. Again, this should be a little bit more inside out. But Will makes it work. He's untouched. Buzzes out to the end zone. I love this play. I think this is what we're going to have to see. I think that they tried to keep the hits off Will Howard, obviously, because he's a starting quarterback. He's the most valuable player on the entire Ohio State team at this point, but he's a guy that is going to be a huge part of Saturday night. And I think running him is going to be a huge part because I've looked at a lot of tape today. Boise State ran all over these guys. Boise State was like 37-34. It was really close. And obviously, Boise State's tailback is I don't want to say he's the best tailback in the country. He's got the best numbers in the country by far. He's probably the Heisman leader at this point. He puts up ungodly, tons of numbers. I think he ran for like 7.7 yards a carry. Again, when you're Ryan Day and you're Justin Friend, you're Chip Kelly, like that to me is the game that you study because they had so much success versus Oregon. Now, again, Oregon could have also walked into a fist fight. You don't have the luxury when you're Ohio State of somebody walking into a fist fight against you. Like I think Oregon probably thought that they were going to roll through Boise. I don't believe Boise was ranked at the time. They're not projected to be like a superpower like some of the old Boise teams that we know and love. At the time, I'm sure Oregon was a top 5-ish team. And so, when they're number 5, Boise's unranked, they're coming to Altson, just roll the helmets out there and smash them. And Boise State's tough. They've always been a tough program, and they've had a little lull lately, but they're formidable, and they run the ball on anybody. Real quick, I want to do this. This is a Scoop Ultra chat tonight. So if you're a Scoop Ultra member and you have a question, please throw a couple asterisks in front of it. I will try to snag them. Karis Washington, thank you and Beth for being on here every night. I hope you guys are doing well. Will Ryan do anything to prepare for the jet lag and the time change? Devin and I were talking about this in pre-show. As of yesterday, they didn't know if they were leaving Thursday or Friday, but they've decided they're going to leave Friday. They're going to keep the body change. There's two ways you can do it. You can try to get out there early enough to let your body acclimate to the new time change, or you can try to keep the guys up and keep them on East Coast time. And the thing that's good about having Chip Kelly is Chip Kelly coached on the East Coast at Philly and the West Coast at San Francisco. Obviously he's been West Coast his whole life with UCLA and Oregon. But they both are different challenges. Like if you fly west to east, I think it's much tougher than east to west. Because for the Bucks, this is a 7:30 kickoff. Basically, with the time change, it'd be like playing like a 6:30 p.m. night game on the East Coast. So that's not terrible. I don't think that that's as hard as, Oregon came here, in 21 and they played a big noon kickoff, which was like a 9 a.m. body time start, I think that's exceptionally difficult. And they came out here and rocked us in the shoe. They didn't have Kayvon Thibodeau. They didn't have Justin Flo. Thibodeau's top 5 pick, and Justin Flo was their best linebacker. Both were scratched for the game with injuries. So, and they still manhandled us. It was atrocious. Lost by 2 touchdowns in the shoe, and abysmal effort from Ryan Day and that defense. But I think that this is a much different unit. I think Jim Knowles is obviously a billion times better than Kerry Combs was. But Devin, what are your thoughts on some deals with dealing with the traveling from the east to the west?
It's interesting because I would have assumed that they would have done the exact opposite. I would have assumed that they did what kind of you brought up, that they get there as early as possible and acclimate. But in the same sense, you got coaches on staff with NFL experience, with the experience of traveling all over the country, and they know how to handle these situations. So if that's ultimately the decision that they have made, if Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles and Ryan Day and all the other coaches involved in this decision, they know the team the best. They're around them every single day. And not only do they know the team the best, they have that past experience of knowing how to handle these situations. So if that's the decision they've made, I have the utmost confidence that that's the right decision to make. There's still that part in me that's like, that's just, I just would have thought they would have done it differently. But ultimately, you just got to put your faith and trust in Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and Jim Knowles and all the rest of the coaching staff, man. They've done a good job so far this year. They killed the offseason. So why stop putting the ball in their hands now and questioning the decision that they're making? So I got faith, man, that they're going to handle it. They got plenty of support staff to make sure the players are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there, the time they're supposed to be there. So,
yeah, I agree with you. And again, there's, the NFL has gotten even better at it as they've tried to spread games out through travel and time zones. Because again, there's London games like every week now where there's a 9 a.m. kickoff, and so like the New England Patriots, when they would go to London, that's a long flight over to London, and they would keep the team up. Like they would not let the guys sleep on the plane. They'd keep them awake. They'd have a meeting as soon as they got off the plane. So again, they're trying to keep the body time correct and not get it all wackadoo. And London's a whole different challenge because you're going so much farther east. You're 9 a.m. kickoff East Coast, and so it's you have to manage that. Again, it seems like it's only a big deal if you don't manage it correctly. And again, I was like I said, I've got experience flying west to east with the 49ers. I had experience Washington. When I was with the Miami Dolphins, we played in Arizona, and that was it felt like a 10-hour flight. It took forever to get back to Miami after that game. But I've been on those long flights, and thankfully we've upgraded our air travel for Ohio State, because obviously, like when I played at Ohio State, we didn't travel like NFL. NFL teams have private charters that are completely amazing, and like our the old Buckeye Soul plane that we used to take up in the air was absolutely abysmal. And again, I know Urban showed up and he said we are not flying on that thing ever again, because it was like a Greyhound bus with wings. It was so bad. But again, I would expect those of you that have seen the photos of Ohio Stadium, like our airplane was like the Ohio Stadium of airplanes, like this beaten up old. Oh God, it is. I don't know if they probably decommissioned it, man, but it was, I mean, they used to put the the starters and the guys that actually played in the games were 2 to a seat, but the guys that were backups, they were 3 to a seat. And it's like, and when I was a coach, I was 3 to a seat because, I didn't play in the games. So I wasn't cramping and hurt, but I'd be 3 to a seat flying home with Brian Voltolini and our little travel girl, and it sucked. It's terrible. And thank God they at least gave me the aisle, but it was like, I was like, I'm never flying like this for the rest of my life. Mark Pollitt, thank you for being an Ultra Member tonight. He's an Ultra Chat. And then after these Ultra Chats are done, we will get right into the Super Chats. Kirk, how do you think our O-line will do against their D-line? Looks like they have some big tackles, or their booties looked big on TV. I think that this is the matchup. The matchups are the two lines to me. I think that really, I mean, this is tough because like there's a lot of compelling matchups. Like our corners are going to see the best receiver group that they've seen. Sonny Styles is going to have the game of his life because this is the best tight end we're going to see outside of Colson Loveland at Michigan. Their tight end is excellent. But the tackles versus the ends on both sides are the compelling matchups because Oregon's 2 tackles are the best 2 tackles on the schedule. They're NFL guys. Jack and JT are going to have their work cut out for them. And then on the flip, their 2 ends are very real. The one's 6'6", 280. So for Josh Simmons and for Josh Fryer, these are the guys that you got to get after. And their one end's got like 5.5 sacks already. He only had 3 last year. So there's I think that our O-line will do well, but again, I think that the equalizer is running Will Howard. I think that this is the game they've saved it for. This is the game where you got to cut it loose, run the read option, misdirection, because they've got a big D-line. And the thing about a big D-line is, if I'm Chip Kelly, man, this is the game to go warp speed. This is the game to go turbo boost. This is the game to go NASCAR, go no huddle, gas those guys. Because again, they haven't seen it, not that I've seen. And again, when you got bigger guys out there, their one end is 6'6", 280, which is big. I mean, Jack Sawyer is probably 6'4", 250, maybe 255, 260 tops. But when you got a 285 guy out there, I mean, those guys get tired. Their big D tackles get tired, so gas them out a little bit. That's what I do. Take the air right out of their lungs, and just, see how conditioned they are. Because again, those guys are going to have all the energy in the world. They've got all the hype in the world. They've got all the pressure in the world. Ohio State has no pressure. They got to go out there and play, but they don't have the student body weighing on them. It's just kind of them versus the world, which is fun. And they get to go out there and try to silence the stadium. And Austin will be. This is the biggest game in the history of Oregon football. Biggest game to date. Because again, this is them entering the Big Ten. Obviously, they played us in the championship game. They played Auburn in the championship game. But this is one where they're in a new conference and they're trying to make a national brand of themselves. And I don't know. We'll see where they go. But I like a lot of our matchups. But this is going to be an NFL GM's dream, because of the amount of key one-on-one matchups you can watch, where you're watching the best on the best receiver, one of the best receivers in the country versus Denzel Burke and versus Davidson Igbinosun and Caleb Downs, and this tight end is excellent. I think he might be the best guy in their whole offense. So Sonny Styles and Cody Simon they got to get their hands on him. They got to rough this guy up, but he gets open. He was all Pac-12 last year. Really good player as I've been watching him on film. He gets open. He's a lot like Colson Loveland, a little bit bigger, but he's a really good player. Devin, what are your thoughts? How do you think our O-line will do against their D-line?
Well, if you would have asked me this before the season, I would have had a way different answer than I do now. But you watch what our O-line just did to Iowa's D-line, like one of the top 5 rushing defense in the nation. They had over 200 rushing yards on them. They manhandled them. They shoved them out of the way and did what they want. Now, do I think this is an upgrade for our offensive line going in and facing a better defensive line? 100% I do. But I love what you said, that this game is a trenches game, like most games are. But I love our D tackle, our defensive line against their offensive line. But more than anything, I love our coaches versus their coaches. I love Chip Kelly and his scheme versus their defensive coordinator. I love our Jim Knowles and his defensive scheme. Look at the halftime adjustments that we have been able to make all year. It's like they come out and they look like a brand new team. A lot of that is the players, and a lot of that is our coaches making adjustments at halftime. Chip Kelly said it. He said it in every one of his press conferences. He's going to give what the offense or what the defense gives them. And when you got somebody like Chip Kelly, and then you got the players that we have on our side, it's like, bro, somebody's got to be open. The scheme that Chip Kelly draws up, there's going to be somebody open in the play. And then same goes over on the defense. The adjustments will be made, but definitely Sonny Styles better come to play, because I think Oregon's tight end is the best tight end in the country. I think, that's just my opinion. So I think that's definitely an area of the field I'm going to be paying attention to as well. But after what our linebackers just did in the Iowa game against a pretty good tight end and pretty good rushing attack, I like where we stand, man, for sure.
Yeah, I do too. Craig McGurk, thanks for being in Ultra. What happened to last year's starting center, Carson Hinzman? He got beat out by Tigra, and he got beat out by Seth McLaughlin. There's no shame in that. I think that he's a guy that's got he's got to keep working. Again, he was an Iron Buckeye, and I think a lot of people thought he would win the right guard job or be competitive in it, but he got the hand, foot, mouth and missed a big chunk of camp. So again, the problem with when you're in a position battles, if you have some sort of a ailment, it's tough. I lost the right tackle job my freshman year or my redshirt freshman year, excuse me, because I hurt my ankle in spring, had a shoulder surgery. So I missed almost all of spring ball. So I was behind the 8 ball in camp, didn't do enough to overtake, but, I just kept plugging away. And by week 6, I was the starter, so again, you just got to keep practicing. You got to treat, I tell these kids, you treat every practice like it's a game. The games, you go out there and it's a war. And again, I'm not trying to, you guys know that there's no Ohio State website in this world that's more pro-military than we are. We talk about how much we do with Pay It Forward and how much we appreciate you guys. But, to a lot of guys, and one of my favorite sayings that it's weird that I kind of used to say to myself when I coined is I'm like, to them, it's a chore. To me, it's a war. So, for this, I'd approach football practice. People, to a lot of those guys, football practice is a chore. They hate it. To me, I was like, it's time to go for the kill, go for blood, go to beat people down. Because I didn't show up there to cut deals. I didn't show up there to make friends. I didn't show there, and I didn't care if anybody liked me. Because all I wanted to do was be good. Because I always tell those guys, I'm like, look, would you rather be an All-American or a captain? I was like, I'd rather be an All-American, because an All-American means you're good. A captain means you're popular. And again, I don't care if I'm popular or not. I just wanted to be excellent at what I did. And again, your teammates will appreciate you more if you're a tone setter and you're a guy that's at the top of your game and you bring it every day in practice than if you're just trying to be out making friends. Because again, I don't need any friends, especially now. I've got a wife, kids, got you guys. So I don't need. I'd rather just be really good at what I do and just focus on that. And I think that's something for Carson. He's got to work every day, man. Because again, there's no law that says these guys, knock on wood, are all going to stay healthy the whole season. And again, in one play, everything can change. I don't wish that on anybody, but that's football. A lot of you guys watch the NFL and you see Anthony Richardson get hurt, or you see the Cleveland Browns lose their 2 tackles, or whatever. Football is a violent game filled with injuries. And so a guy like Carson has got to stay sharp. He's got to stay ready. There's no time to cry and be depressed and be sad that you got beat out. You got to keep your mind sharp. And again, sometimes that's hard, because when you go from being a guy who's the guy, a guy who's in the first huddle, and a guy who's playing and against Michigan, then you're playing the last, 90 seconds of the Iowa blowout. It's kind of a whole different ball of wax. Buck Vader, 1977. Thank you for being an ultra member, my friend. Saturday was my birthday. Happy birthday. I hope you had a great time. It was awesome. We win. The team at Northern Alabama loses. Have you ever seen anything like our red zone offense? I have not. Again, I think our offense is humming. This is a different level, just because you've got a gigantic receiver in JJ who's a threat every time you throw him a fade, which you saw him do the one-handed snag. You've got a running quarterback. You've got the read option. You've got 2 absolute first-round NFL superstar level running backs, and you've got a Mecca who's a nightmare in the slot. So you got a guy who can work underneath. You've got a quarterback that can pull it and run it. You've got JJ who you can throw a fade to. You have everything you need. The only thing that would truly make this thing better is if we had Luke Lachey. We had a dominating tight end that you could work the middle of the field with. But other than that, again, that's nitpicky. But really, you can't ask for much more. I don't know if we'll ever see a better red zone offense. I think we're 21 for 22, scoring touchdowns in the red zone, which is far and away the best in the history of Ohio State football. That's as good as anyone in the history of football, period. But Devin, what are your thoughts? Have you ever seen anything like our red zone offense?
No, man, it looks way different. What are we, 21 trips in the red zone, 20 touchdowns, and 1 field goal? And I'd say the main thing I love about it is the aggressiveness of our offense, especially in the red zone. If it's 4th down, hey, we're not kicking a field goal, man. We're going for it. And I love that overall about our offense there. You've seen a lot of going forward on 4th down this year, and I feel like that is not the norm for Ryan Day. So I love what Chip Kelly has brought, and it's bro, we're going to find a way to get in the end zone. If we get down there in the red zone, you're not stopping us. We are scoring. So good luck, man. So you got Will Howard, the receiving threats, like you said, 2 All-American running backs, and an O-line that is just dominating. So, yeah, man, it's a fun thing to watch. Enjoy it when you watch it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Barb Barrett, how are you, dear? Appreciate you being on here every night. Thank you for being an ultra member as well. What do you think about our high-powered offense being superior to their offense? The D's being equal. I like our offense better than their offense because I think that we're a more dominating running team. I think we're deeper. I think we have better players across the board. I mean, people can say Dylan Gabriel over Will Howard, but for what Chip Kelly likes to do, I'd take Will Howard. Our running backs are clearly superior to. I would take any running back room in the country over ours. I wouldn't take any receiver room over in the country over ours. They have a humongous advantage at tight end, but that's just one guy, so that's fine. I mean, their tight end is excellent. Ours are just guys, which is fine. O-line, I think I like where ours is headed. Our left tackle is better than either of their tackles, in my opinion, but they've got really good tackles. This is a good line. So, all in all, I'd take Chip Kelly over their play caller. That's a humongous advantage in our favor. So I take our offense. In terms of the defenses, I like our defense much better too. I think our defense is more complete. Now, we haven't played a Boise State. We haven't played a team that's that. I mean, Iowa. I think Boise State would run through Iowa. I think it'd be a physical game, but Boise's they're a rushing juggernaut right now, and our defense hasn't given up 34 all season, let alone in one game. And so that's they gave up 34 to Boise in one game. So they've had points scored on them. I mean, Idaho was playing with them, scored a couple touchdowns on them. So I like our defense. I love Jim Knowles. I think Jim Knowles in this game. This is a Jim Knowles game where he's got to figure out how to affect that tight end, how to affect their over the top receiver. But I really like where our defense is. What are your thoughts, Steph?
Yeah, man, the schedule has been a little different. I think Oregon has played a little bit better of offenses, but we have the number 1 ranked defense in the nation according to NCAA. They have the number 10th ranked defense, and we have the number 9th ranked offense, and they have the number 24th or 25th ranked offense. But I love our offense, definitely compared to yours, especially our play caller. But even that, running backs, wide receiver, we definitely have them there. I know that goes against the preseason rankings or whatever, but I think we're proving it out there on the field. Like you look at Emeka Ibuka, J.J. Smith, and even Carnell Tate, they have a lot of yards and a lot of catches compared to other teams. They got one receiver with a bunch of yards, and the rest don't really have that many. So I definitely like us on offense. I like, Will Howard's decision making and his ability to run the ball, how tough he is, and also the mentality of him as well. Dude can go out there and throw an interception, then come right back and get his head back in the game and do it. You saw Dylan Gabriel, through his last game, he threw 2 interceptions in the red zone. So he gets pretty flustered, and it seems like he has a little bit of trouble coming out of being flustered. And defense, man, got the number 1 defense in the country, dude. I love our defensive backs, our defensive line, defensive ends. Our linebackers were the only thing where I was like, oh, man. But last game, dude, they showed up. They showed out. So we'll see, man. Like I said, I predict a 2-score defeat. I think, our veteran players, veteran coaches, all the experience we have, as long as we come in there focused, man, and win that middle half, like the players are always talking about, last 4 minutes of the first half and first 4 minutes of the second half, dude. So expect an upbeat in production during that, because they're really focused on that this year, and I love that idea as well. So excited, man.
Yeah, I think they gotta block the ends. They gotta block Jordan Birch. He was named Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2.5 sacks versus Michigan State, but you got to remember, Michigan State was starting a true freshman left tackle, the same guy that JT Tuimoloau massacred. So it's not, I watched him. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He only had 3.5 sacks last year. He's got 5.5 this year. But he's big. He's long armed. And again, you go against these guys with long arms, man. You got to get on them early. You can't set back and take it easy on them. You got to cut the distance. It's kind of like blocking Cam Hayward. You don't vertical set like Cam Hayward, get his 10-foot long arms into your chest when your little arms are trying to reach him, and that's a recipe for death. SC Buckeye, I think, for being an ultra member. Do you think we double the Ducks up on yards and win by 3 scores? No, I don't. I think that's again, I know that Monday Night Football is tonight, and there is places that have great happy hours on Monday night, but that is a straight happy hour type question, because I would love that. If we double them up on yards, then I will come back and I will eat my words. Make sure you save that, because that would be amazing. 3 scores at Alston, that would be the win of the year. That'd be the best win of Ryan Day's career to this point. So that would be that would be impressive. That would put the world on notice because Oregon's for real. And again, I think that they're going to have their attention on us. This isn't going to be Boise and some of these games where they kind of sleptwalk through them. Idaho, where they won like 27-14, they were kind of farting around for the first 3 quarters. So I don't think we won by 3 scores. But again, that's that'd be great. But I just don't know. Devin, you got any thought?
Could it happen? Shoot, Vanderbilt beat Alabama. Anything could happen, dude. But I
of
seriously
course.
doubt it.
Yeah. Dennis Moore, this is great. Massive Friday meetup at Eugene at Beer Stein, 6 p.m. Over 300, and then this is a continuation. Over 300 Buckeyes have registered to attend. The Scoop flag will be flying high. Dennis, I appreciate you, my man. I hope that you guys have a great time. Get with me, buckeyescoop@gmail.com. You can auction off a free 1-year premium membership to buckeyescoop.com. So get with me if you want to put that on the auction block and just let me know who wins it, and I'll set up a comp for them. But that'll be absolutely excellent. Let's get into some super chats. The super chats are starting to pile up, so we're going to go through some of these.
Hey, by the way, Kirk, I will be at that Friday night meetup, so I'm excited.
Well, you better be in some Scoop gear. I'm teasing you. You can be Buckeye Boys gear.
I'm going to wear the massive shirt. I ain't got my Buckeye Boys shirt yet.
I love it. All right, Rohan Van Gogh, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Is it just me, or is Oregon not as good up front even after their starting line came back from injury? Also, they worked harder than us versus Michigan State. I think that they're good. I mean, I don't think that they're great. I mean, I watched them against Idaho and Boise, some of these schools. They got pushed around pretty good. They didn't look like some dominating. They don't have like 5 Panay Sewells out there. So again, I think that I think some people are still kind of. I think some people are still scarred from the game from 4 years ago and 21 when they came in here and just kicked the crap out of us. But this is a much different Ohio State team. This is a much more physical Ohio State team. This is a much more well coordinated Ohio State team. But the 21 team was not physical on offense or defense. They're talented. They had great players, Paris Johnson, C.J. Stroud, but it was a soft batch, a soft unit. They got pushed around by Michigan. They got pushed around by Oregon. The defense was never structured because of Kerry Combs, who was completely lost as a DC. So I don't know. This is going to be a big test for both of our lines. This is easily the biggest test for both teams, both lines. So I think it'll be interesting. But I like our O line versus their guys. I like our D line versus their guys. So, but they got to go out and play. And again, this is going to be one where this is a game where Ryan Day gets to earn his paycheck. You don't earn your paycheck beating Columbus State and Ashland and some of these schools that we've been playing the last few weeks in the shoe. So you earn your money playing against Oregon because again, you get judged as a coach when you play teams with equal talent. And the problem with when you're at Ohio State is there's only about 3 or 4 schools in the country that have equal talent to you. So I mean, you don't see many teams in the Big Ten that are in the same universe as Ohio State talent, especially now with the NIL thing. But this is one of them. This is a team. We're more talented than Oregon. I think we're much more talented than Oregon, but we got to go play. And this will be a good one to see what the boys can do. What are your thoughts, Devin? Rohan Vedgol, again, thanks for the 5. He says Oregon not as good up front after their starting line came back from injury, and also they worked harder than us versus Michigan State. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you that we are more skilled than Oregon in a lot of areas. But here's the question. Is Oregon skilled enough to beat us? For sure, they definitely are. But here's one of the biggest areas that I see that's different. And this might sound stupid to some people, but this is just an example I'm going to use. For instance, when I watched Oregon play their last game, this is a detail some people might not have saw, but I saw on several different occasions Oregon players on the ground reaching their hand up to get helped up by their team and people walking by and not helping them up. You don't see that when the Buckeyes play. So what I mean by that, and that might be a big nothing burger, it might happen a lot more than what I see. I don't know, but I just feel like this Buckeye team, the cohesion on the Buckeye team this year, the veteran presence that's come back, they just play like a team, like big time. Jeremiah Smith can fumble the ball, but nobody makes a stink about it. They throw right back at him when they come back out. Like, this team has a lot of cohesion. They're dialed and they play together as a team. And I think overall, that's what's going to overwhelm Oregon coming in here, because I have watched Oregon play several times and they get flustered, man. They they start to lose it a little bit. The Boise State game, the Idaho State. So if they come in here and they get a little flustered, in the first two quarters, we have a high-powered enough offense to put the game away, because it's really hard on our defense to score a bunch of points really, really fast. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. They were able to do that in Boise State and Idaho and these other games you saw them struggling. We're not those teams. This is not the same defense. So, if Oregon comes in and they don't play with the cohesion that they can play with, that we have seen them drop the ball on a couple different times, then this game could get out of hand. By out of hand, I mean 2 scores away, and it's going to be really hard to catch back up to the Buckeyes. We're not Boise State. We're not Idaho. So, it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
Totally agree. Iowa Buck, thank you for the 10. This is great. Bragging rights at Iowa are still strong. Been told by many Iowa fans they were impressed with our O-line. First time in 37 games, Iowa's defense has given up 200 yards rushing in a game. Well, I mean, it's like I told people at the beginning of the year the O-line would be good. I know that people are ready to crucify Justin Fry in the middle of the oval after the first couple of weeks, but I'm like, we didn't have Donnie, who was our first team All-American guard. We didn't have Seth McLaughlin making his first start. Josh Simmons missed a bunch of camp because he had hand, foot, mouth disease. Taggers making his first start. They're rotating him with Austin Seyerveld. So again, like when we didn't look great to start off, I was like, well, these guys didn't practice together all training camp. And again, I know most people are much more intelligent at coaching and teaching and speaking about offensive line play than I am, but I felt like I was right because I was. But again, these guys are really good, and I'm telling you, like Josh Simmons he's playing as good as any tackle in the country this year. Which again, 2-3 years ago, I had some of the dumbest human beings on earth on our message boards on Buckeye Scoop. They've all been banned and sent to the island of misfit toys at this point. But saying, well, who's ever going to play tackle for us in 2025? And you know what my answer was 2 years ago? I don't know, and I don't care. Because with the transfer portal, guess what? We've got a lot of money, and we got a lot of kids that want to go to the NFL. A lot of these kids want to be the next Paris Johnson. So guess what? Someone steps up to the plate, and they want to go get a big old pile of money, come play tackle at Ohio State. Get developed by Mickey Marotti and Justin Fry and Ryan Day. And guess what? Josh Simmons took the bag. He took the lotto ticket and scratched it. And he's like, wow, I'm going to be a first-round pick. This is great. I didn't say it San Diego State. So, again, I love – and I will say this, and I said this last night – I love Iowa. I love their football program. I love everything they're about. I love Kirk Ferentz. I've admired that program from afar. It's a difficult job because there's no talent in that state. So you got to go out and find guys that are 3-star guys and try to turn them into 5-stars. But they've done it, especially on the lines. Tristan Wirfs and Riley Reef. I mean, guys have made fortunes playing O-line at Iowa. But that was not a great Iowa team. I mean, I've played against great Iowa teams. We've seen the one that waxed us in 2017. But I love Iowa. I respect those guys. Kinnick is a very difficult place to play. But we're just light years better than they are now. It's just because of, we embrace NIL. We've got Brian Schottenstein and the foundation being spearheading the fundraising. And we're very aggressive. And again, I give a lot of the credit to Urban Meyer because Urban Meyer is the guy that kind of put all these guys into place. And, the rest of, these guys are all kind of riding on the castle that Urban built. And they've made it better, obviously. But, I couldn't imagine Urban Meyer if NIL existed when he coached. Oh, my God. I couldn't imagine how much we'd be paying for our roster. If we're paying 20 for Ryan's, we'd be getting about 50 for Urban's. But your thoughts, Devin? Bragging rights are here. They're still strong. I've been told by many Iowa fans they're impressed by our O-line. First time in 37 games, Iowa's defense has given up 200 yards rushing in a game. The O-line looked good. And again, Iowa, they are built to stop the run, and we ran all through them. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, according to ESCCPN, the Buckeyes, us fans, this should feel like a loss, man, that we didn't do more, according to them. But according to me, I'm stoked about our O-line, dude. The beautiful thing about the O-line this year that's very exciting is, number one, they came out and were better than I anticipated. You were saying it all. You didn't have any worries. You were definitely right there. But not only that, but they're getting a lot better each game. Like, look at the step they made from Michigan State to Iowa. Like, a lot. Tegra Shabola, I mean, he looked way better coming in. Like, all of them looked better. And, so I'm going to expect the same thing, and I think we're going to see the same thing. I think we're even going to see a better O-line in the Oregon game than we saw in the Iowa game, and that's a big deal. I'm just gonna tell you, dude, it's duck season, bro. We're coming in there. We're gonna light them up. They're not ready for it. That's just what it is. Duck hunting time, baby.
I love that. Gabe Gaines, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, my friend. Realistic possibilities for a Michigan punishment. This thing is still moving slow, but show causes for a lot of people. I mean, they just released the Arizona State thing. Antonio Pierce got an 8-year show cause, got fines out the wazoo, bowl bans. I think vacating wins is definitely on the table. Vacating the championship is definitely on the table. Because again, I don't know how you can vacate 7 games and keep the national championship. Like that seems like the dumbest thing of all time. So, but again, it's the NCAA, and whenever they're ready to go, they will go. And that's the reason why we need to have one unified league that is just the big dogs, and it's like the NFL, because the agility and the speed. And the biggest thing to me is like, I think if you had one league that had, call it 50 teams in it or 48 teams, whatever you want to call it, and you have a unified officiating, deal, you have a unified enforcement deal, a commissioner like every other major sport in the world has. I mean, college football is the only sport in the universe that's this big that doesn't have one unifying commissioner. They've got the SEC, they got the Big Ten, they got, it's like, the NFL's got one guy, they got Goodell, that's it. The NBA has one guy, and so they all have to bow to that one guy. Whereas in college football, man, it's like conferences, like we watched that Miami game where they're just trying to keep Miami in the thing, and they're throwing flags to make sure Cal loses. So again, would there be a thorough review if that was in the NFL? Yeah, of course, because it's not going to happen in the NFL. Even though the Chiefs do seem to get every call, and I'm sure they will tonight, especially if Taylor Swift is in the building. Mike Green, thank you for the deuce. Hey, Kirk, what do you think the best game plan is? I think the best game plan is to run the ball. Offensively, I'm running the ball. I'm going to go tempo. I'm going to run Will Howard until his wheels fall off. Obviously, you want to hit him over the top with JJ. If I was making the game plan to start this game off, I would script out the first 4 plays. I never go more than 4 because people say, "Oh, the first 12 is stupid." It's the first 3 or 4. I would get Will Howard moving. I would move the pocket, get the O-line comfortable, get JJ a nice, easy couple catches. Again, I like to roll the ball out. I like to run nakeds. I like to do stuff where the O-line doesn't have to block a ton of guys. Nice, easy throw for Will Howard. Get one to Emeka, get one to JJ, and get Trey and Quinshawn touches in the first 5 plays. Get all 5 of those guys, or all 4 of those guys touches. Maybe run Will one time, get him out on the edge where, because again, I would like to get him out on the edge on just a real simple, either throw it to JJ or you tuck it and run it and go get 5 yards. Get it 2nd and 5, manage the game, nice and easy. Again, you got a guy who's a veteran. He's a very good quarterback, but every quarterback in the world likes to get their confidence going, and you want to get a nice, easy ball to JJ. Again, it doesn't have to be some, everyone has these, because again, everyone's grown up playing Madden and playing video games, or whatever. It doesn't have to be some 70-yard deep ball shot. You have to throw the whole shot perfect down the rails. Like, oh, why don't we start it off throwing it deep? Well, because you're an idiot. You've never played football. You've never coached football. You don't know anything about football. How about we just throw a nice little 5-yard slant to a guy like JJ who might take it 70 yards? If you throw him a little 5-yard slant, he might take it 70. But that's a super easy throw and catch. Get those guys involved. Get them energized. Because the one thing you don't want is you don't have that incompletion. You don't want to throw some big shot, and because again, you throw that long bomb, you got to protect for it. And we got to early in the game, you have to see how the offensive line is going to hold up in protection, because these guys, this is by far the best D-line we've seen. I think in multiple years, I think this is the best D-line we've seen. So, you got to get ready to go, and you got to see who's winning their matchups. Can we block their ends one-on-one? I would chip versus the 6'6" guy right off the rip. The guy that was Big Ten Player of the Week. Don't let him have any air to breathe. Let Quinshawn or Trey go put his shoulder pad right into his ribs to start off. And again, I would hammer those guys. I'd double team them. There's a lot of ways you can help these tackles out. And again, our tackles are excellent, but I'd still help them out early in the game with the noises at the peak and all this jazz is going on, and run the quarterback. Because again, running the quarterback on the road is lethal. And again, I lived Troy Smith up at Michigan. His scrambling carried us to victories. It really did. And this quarterback said, when you see that quarterback break loose, it just takes all the air and all the energy out of the stadium. Defensively, you got to rough up the tight end. You have to get hands on him. You cannot let that guy free release. Sonny Styles is going to have a great game in coverage, and he's going to be physical. I mean, Sonny's as big as this guy, because this guy is 6'6", 250. He's an NFL dude as long as the day is long. all conference guy last year. He'll be all conference or second team all conference this year, and he'd be all conference any other year. But Colson Loveland is so good that, but he's a factor, and you can't let these guys hit a shot because they have one receiver who is their dude. He's a monster. But yeah, I think you got to affect the quarterback. You got to get him on the ground, get him rattled. Even if it takes, give it up a little bit, you got to go get after this kid and put him in the dirt. Devin, your thoughts on how we should start this off?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, do what we've been doing all year. Do not turn the ball over, though. I like what you say. Come into that stadium, give us some easy completions, put the ball in the playmakers' hands, spread them out, bring it in, just do what we've been doing. Take care of the ball. Take care of the ball, take care of the ball, and then take care of the ball. I think that Chip Kelly's scheme and his game plan that he has, if we take care of the ball, we're going to be able to march down the field and score, whatever fashion that looks like. You get it in, Q and Trey's hands and smash mouth football, play physical. That's going to work. Get our receivers out on the edges, slants, all that stuff. The same things we've been doing. That's going to work. And then, when you're doing the option, somebody's going to end up being open. If they're not, guess what? Will Howard can take off running down the field. So offensively, I think we're going to be fine. We're going to be able to move the ball. If our O-line ends up not being able to hold up quite so much, there's things you can do, to alleviate that from impacting the game that much. Defensively, physicality, man, getting after the quarterback. I mean, even their best wide receiver, I think the dude's like 160 pounds. Put Iggy on that dude and watch what he does to him at the line, pressing him. Now, I mean, they're quicker and all get out, but, the receiver, one of their best receiver, he's a tiny dude, but that physicality, getting after the quarterback, and, dude, don't get roughing the passer, but get after him and put a couple hits on that dude, and he's going to be a little bit flustered. He's going to be a little bit nervous about what's coming behind him every single play if you get him hit a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, you have to affect Tez Johnson. He's got 40 catches already in 5 games. The whole offense runs through him. He's their speed demon. But the tight end had a 60-yard reception last game on a screen. So you got to defend that. And again, if I'm Chip Kelly, tunnel screens, screen it to Travion, Quinshon, especially Travion, because Travion's got a little bit more receiver juice. But again, those little tunnel screens that we've been hitting, those are catch the ball, hold it for a millisecond, chuck it out there, let the guys get out, fan out. And that's super easy. Because when you got a guy like Emeka's like a Robert Woods. He's like a running back. He's got the running back ability at receiver where you could give him the ball on a jet sweep in a horizontal running game. And that's something I'm surprised we haven't done more of is hand the ball to Emeka or do the touch pass to Emeka because he can put his foot in the ground and get going. We were in that reverse with JJ. Again, you got to get it in the hands of Emeka and JJ in short little capacities. Again, I know everyone wants the deep shot, everyone wants the 70-yard bomb. Those are great, but just get them the ball early. Let them touch the ball. Let them get involved in the game as fast as humanly possible. But defensively, you got to control this tight end. This tight end's a great player. And you control him and Tez and make them try to run it. And I think that we win the thing going away. I'm going to check and see if we have more Ultra chats. Again, this is a Scoop Ultra chat. If you guys are Scoop Ultra members, you guys can ask us a question. Let me see if I can find any more. We had a bunch of these on here. Again, I appreciate you guys. Let's see. Who will be our defensive MVP for the game? I think it has to be... I think it's got to be Denzel. Denzel, again, we don't normally flop our corners, but our corners are going to have their hands full with Tez. Tez is their best receiver, Tez Johnson. He is a, like I said, when I looked at his stats, and again, I'll triple check these. 5 games, he has 43 catches, over 8 a game. So that is, you want to talk about running the offense through somebody, that's it. Almost 400 yards receiving in 5 games, but he is, that's dynamic. So, it's going to be our corners, our safeties. I think, I worry. I don't worry about Sonny Styles, but he had his best game. But they're going to pick on Sonny. This tight end is a matchup problem. And again, Sonny's as physical and as gifted as any player in the country. So it's not like he doesn't have the tools. And if he puts it together and clamps this kid, it's going to be a long day for Oregon. So again, I think Sonny Styles, I think, needs to be the defensive MVP. Offensive MVP, I got to go Will Howard. Will Howard's got to run it. He's got to create. I think that we've held off on running the quarterback. I don't think we're holding off on it here. I think Chip's going to unleash him because, you don't need to run your quarterback versus Akron and Western Michigan and all these turds that we've played thus far. But versus Oregon, you got to pull out all the stops. There ain't no saving nobody in this game. So this is go win the game, period, end, point blank. Devin, who you got for an offensive and defensive MVP?
Dude, I got to go with the activation of Caleb Downs in this game. Coming up with some big-time tackles. Possibly a couple interceptions this game. One, getting Gabriel flustered back there. Offensive, I would absolutely love to see Will Howard, come in here and be the hands-down MVP. But another person that wouldn't hurt is if Trey or Q come in and just absolutely light them up. It's just going to open up so many things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Pooh Bear 12, thank you for being an ultra member. This is what I said. I said it loud against Oregon. Rashad Jeanty, who's, again, I don't think he's better than either of our two guys, but he's a horse now. 192 yards rushing on 25 carries. So it's like 7.7 a carry. Or no, excuse me. Yeah, it's about 7.7 a carry. 3 touchdowns. And that was with their QB only completing 42%. So eventually their quarterback couldn't pass. He was like 19 for 40 or some crazy number. So he was... or it was like 19 for 44 or 43. It was bad. No reason to think that Trey and Q can't eat when they also have to cover JJ. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, with Will Howard, who's a veteran quarterback, and you've got your guys, Quinshon and Trey, like, you got to pick your poison. Like, do you want to stop the run or do you want to let JJ go, eat you for dinner? So that's the beauty about when you come to Ohio State, when you're these running backs, when you're like, Quinshon, it's like, dude, like, guess what? Like, you're not going to see a heavy box because do you think that any DC has the balls to single up JJ? JJ, I mean, you see JJ going to the house about 70, 80 yards. I mean, that's a nice, you can write that on your tombstone. I singled up JJ Smith in the Ohio State Oregon game. I'm a moron. I deserve to be shot in the middle of Alston Stadium for doing that. So you're going to see light boxes. Devin, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just a couple of statistics to read out. Ohio State has the number 3 rushing defense in the nation. Oregon has the 24th ranked rushing defense. But for rushing offense, we have a top 10 rushing offense in the nation. No, we're number 14, and they are number 67. For rushing offense. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that their rushing attack was not the greatest in the world. But, yeah, for sure, man. We can definitely, Trey and Q and with our offensive line, run all over them, man.
Great. All right. Pooh Bear 12, thank you for being an ultra member. I'll give you another one. What are the chances this is a game where we see Caleb Downs on offense? I think remote. I don't know what Caleb would add. I know he's a fantastic athlete. And again, I added Josh Downs in every fantasy league this week, and he had 9 catches for 70. I mean, he was great. And I hope Joe Flacco keeps playing. But his brother is a freaky athlete, too. So I've got brother of Caleb on all of my fantasy teams now. But I don't think we see it. Devin, do you think we see it at all?
No.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you can't risk the best player on your defense getting hurt running the ball when you've got. I mean, it's hard enough when we already have enough mouths to feed. Adding, one little miniature gimmick thing doesn't really make sense to me. Buck Vader 1977. Do you think we're grooming Laurinaitis for DC someday? Yeah. James wants to be the head coach eventually. Again, everyone that's in that building wants to be the head coach at some point. And James has the moxie to do it. He has to keep getting better. Obviously, this is his first year as a full-time coach, but he's got the ability to do it. I think that he could easily be the DC one day, but I don't think he's ready yet. Obviously, it's his first year, but he's got the upside, and we've seen this trajectory. And Gerard Mayo was a guy that he came out in the draft with, and he's the head coach of the Patriots now. So, and I don't think that he's smarter than James is. But again, that's just me. But he's the head coach of the Patriots. So I think James has got the upside of being a DC and a head coach at a very high level very quickly. Do you agree with that, Dev?
I do, yeah. He's a very impressive dude. Listen to the dude talk. So, very impressive guy.
Yeah. Sean Schrock, what is up, brother? Thank you for being a wrench and being an Ultra member as well. Kirk, do you expect OSU to keep rotating at right guard? Do you think it could mess with the chemistry of the O-line? I think that's done for now. I think because Tigra kind of took over the lion's share of the starter reps. We didn't have the twos in until very late in the game, which I thought was stupid. But we finally put him in with 90 seconds to go for a couple of kneel downs. But I think that the chemistry of the O-line is improving. The only way it improves is if the guys play and practice together. And I said that coming out of camp, it was going to be tough because they had that hand, foot, and mouth disease. And so Josh Simmons was out for a long time. And Donnie had a hamstring, and he was out for the first month or so of camp to the season. And people, like, when we didn't look like rock stars starting the season off, I was like, well, a lot of these guys missed a lot of camp, which is terrible. And training camp sucks, but it's something you have to do. It's kind of like when, our military, they go through basic training and conditioning and PT and all. It's like, you need to do that. You can't just show up and, go hope to be ready to go. Like, you have to go through kind of the crucible that is training camp. And, like our Navy SEALs go through Hell Week, and, you got to go through that stuff to see how hardened and how tough you are. And that's what training camp is. So when you miss all of that, it's hard to be ready to go and play at a high level during camp. Devin, do you believe that the O-line is done rotating at right guard?
Yeah, I do. There was exactly 0 rotation in the Iowa game. The starting offensive line got 63 snaps, all 5 of them, and all 5 of the second team got exactly 3. So they're done with that, I do believe.
Yeah. Nicholas Smith, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you being on here, my dude. You're on here every night. Appreciate you. I also think that this is the Buckeye team that plays with an edge, a chip on their shoulder. They play with fury. They have a fight. I haven't seen that in a while. Agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the leadership has been suspect the last few years of the team. I think that the team got soft over the last few years. I think they've hardened up a little bit now that a lot of these guys came back. A lot of these guys gave up being drafted into the NFL because they want to win something. These guys, everyone on this team hasn't won a single meaningful game yet. They were embarrassed in the Cotton Bowl, the Missouri game. They're embarrassed versus Michigan the last 3 years. So they've got a different edge to them. For a guy like Jack Sawyer, like, this is his last go-around. JT Tuimoloau, Denzel, Emeka, and none of them have it. They don't have any rings. They don't have any gold pants, which, frankly, at Ohio State over the last 20 years is completely unheard of. So, again, I talked to a lot of these guys. I told them, I'm like, look, don't be scared if it ain't going the way it should be going for you to voice your opinion. And if you upset some people, then F them. That's fine. Because, again, it's your senior season, not theirs. So, again, they might want to wait around till next year. They might want to wait around to go hard and, we'll get them next year. And you can't do that. Especially with a team like this. Because this is Ryan Day is holding a royal flush in his hands right now. Royal flush. You can't lose. The only way you can lose is if you screw it up. And again, so this is on the coaches too. The coaches can't screw this one up. When you get dealt a royal flush, you're playing poker and everybody's all in. It all comes down to the coach, and it comes down to these seniors and the leadership. But it's like you can't not cash this one in when you have a roster that's this talented. And I don't care how much they cost. I know that Ross Burke, and again, I think Ross Burke is fantastic. I thought it was really stupid that he said that it cost $20 million to furnish this roster. I thought it was dumb because that's what gets brought up by every stupid analyst in the world. But that being said, this is a team that when you look at next year's team or any year we've had prior, we haven't had anything that was this equal on offense and defense, not to mention the players, but also from a coaching staff perspective. So got to cash this one in. Devin, your thoughts. Nick Smith, again, I appreciate you. Thank you for the 5, my friend. He says, I think it's the Buckeye team that plays with an edge, a chip on their shoulder. They play with fury. They play with fight that I haven't seen in a while. Agree. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the biggest way you can see that is look at what Emeka Egbuka does in blocking and look at what Trey Henderson does in pass protection. Like, look what all the receivers are doing. Like, these are things we did not see last year, the year before, or the year before that. So 100% this team is playing with a different fire under them. And on offense, you might say that fire is Chip Kelly.
Yeah, Chip has changed the world because, again, I'm not harping on Ryan because Ryan had to do 2 full-time jobs last year, but Ryan had to hold some of these guys more accountable, especially with the wide receiver blocking. It got to the point where it was ridiculous last year, and Chip again, it's like Chip is bad cop because he's gonna rip these guys. He's not gonna put up with the trash we watched the last few years from the receivers blocking lines. And again, I know receivers don't get paid $50 million to go out and block, but it sure makes our lives a lot easier when they block. And magically they block, and look at our rushing numbers just skyrocketing because we run the quarterback and we block the perimeter. So magically we're really good. Buckeye BA, thanks for the deuce. We should use all 4 downs on offense 90% of the time. I don't know if I'd go 90% of the time. I just think it depends on where you're at on the field. But I'm all for going for it. I mean, I think that the analytics show that a lot of times it's better to go for it and use 4 downs and be aggressive and, go win the game. I mean, I think that's kind of where you're at. You gotta go win this thing. But I love when we're really aggressive but again, there's aggressive and then there's also stupid. So you have to figure out what's the right balance because, if we're on our own 20-yard line, like I'm not going to give our defense a short field. Because again, if I'm running the show, I'm all about being aggressive, but I also am not about screwing our defense over. Because you screw your defense over when you put them in these terrible positions. And thanks, guys, we got to go out and defend 20 yards. They're already in the red zone because we went for it on our own 20-yard line or whatever. So again, there's aggressive and then there's idiotic. And so I'm not in the idiotic camp, but that's just my opinion. Devin, what are your thoughts? Buckeye BA, again, thanks for the deuce. He says, we should use all 4 downs on offense 90% of the time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the game, where you're at on the field, but 100%, the Buckeyes are way more aggressive this year on offense in terms of 4th downs. In the Iowa game, weren't we on like our their 45, like 4th and 6, and we went for it, we threw it on 4th down to Brandon Ennis. He got like 20-some yards. So we're definitely more aggressive. So you can I don't think that aggressiveness is going to leave just because it's Oregon, but it depends what's going on in the game, how the defenses play in, where we're at on the field, all those things. You got to play smart for sure, but I love the aggressive style we're playing with this year for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me check and see if we got anything else. It is 8:10, so we're almost to Monday Night Football.
A lot of people are wanting to hear score predictions, Kirk. I don't know. I don't think you do that on your show, do you? Don't you put that on your board, or am I wrong?
Yeah, we put that on the board later in the week, so we don't do we don't do score predictions this early in the week. Yeah, we and again, you have to understand we put everything on the message board first. So anything that you guys ever hear from us, it's already been written in stone on Buckeye Scoop. Again, because if you guys will really want it, like BuckeyeScoop.com has it first. So that's where we live at for the majority of the day. Well, Dev, Monday Night Football time, my dude. Great show. Let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, man, excited for the game. And I'm just going to plug our channel real fast. Buckeye Boys Fan, me and Mello's channel over there. If you haven't, subscribed or saw any of our shows, go over there to BuckeyeBoys.com. You'll be able to find us really easy. So appreciate you having me on, Kirk. Anytime I'll come on. I love talking Buckeye football for sure. And don't forget, Buckeye fans, enjoy the season, man. This is a once in a blue moon experience we're watching right now. J.J. Smith, freshman year, Trey and Q in the backfield, all these seniors coming back, Let the full game play out. That's for myself, too. I tend to freak out over every wrong thing that happens. But let the game play out, man. We'll see how the season ends. But it's going to be a good thing, dude. Natty Lock, baby.
Yeah, Natty Lock, baby. It's going to be a great night. Well, appreciate you guys joining us. Monday Night Football is about to kick off. I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all that you guys do on here. Again, this is another huge show because you guys make it one. Great Scoop Ultra chat questions. Again, I appreciate you guys for doing that. It's one of the perks of being a Scoop Ultra member. You help take care of the channel. The money goes to Pay It Forward. If you have people that you think are eligible for Pay It Forward, send their information to buckeyescoop@gmail.com. Do a little bit of work, a little bit of research, and we will get them signed up for a Pay It Forward membership on buckeyescoop.com, which is our premium message board where you have direct access to Nevadabuck and I, along with Bill Greene and all of our insiders. Again, the board is on fire. There's never been a better time to join buckeyescoop.com than right now because our board is absolutely at the zenith of all Ohio State experiences, and it's been absolutely awesome today. So I appreciate all you guys that are already on there. If you guys enjoy our film reviews, type a Y into the chat. And also go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe to our channel. Again, that's a huge way to help us. Go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify. Our audio formats are growing. Thank you guys so much for that. It's an easy, free way for you to help us out. Buckeye Scoop, go to any of the major podcasts, especially Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those are our two main ones. Type it in, subscribe, and again, it's just a huge help for us. So again, I appreciate you guys so very much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Getting close, guys. We got 5 nights, and it's going to be Oregon time, Oregon, Ohio State, the game we've all been waiting for. So keep it locked on here, BuckeyeScoop.com. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Go Bucks. Apologize, Jay Willie. I missed your super chat. I actually missed 2 of them. So I'm going to come back in here and knock these out real quick. Jay Willie, disappointed Mylan Graham hasn't played. Why is that? Well, I think that our receiver room is very deep. So I think that he is waiting his turn at this point. And I don't think that there's nothing bad about that. But, we've got JJ Mecca. I mean, Brandon Ennis, I think, should play more. But, with Carnell being out, it's been tough. So we've done a lot of double tight end stuff, which has also hindered him. So it's Noah Rogers has been playing well. He got a lot more work this last week with Carnell being out. So he's a little further down the depth chart that I'm sure he probably likes. But, after Emeka leaves next year, I think he's going to have a much bigger role. And I would get him ready to go on kick returns as well. Ohio Refugee, thank you for the deuce. The defense has some buckshot for the Ducks. OHIO, I appreciate you, my man. Thanks for being an ultra member. But, yeah, I think that this is going to be a signature game for Jim Knowles. It has to be. This is the best offense he's seen since he's been at Ohio State. This is better than the Georgia offense. I think that this is a really good quarterback, great wide receiver, great tight end. So it'll be very interesting to see what we can do versus a team that is this talented. And I think that these guys will be up for the occasion. So with that being said, I think I've got all of them. I'm sorry about that, Jay Willie. I don't know how I missed that, but apologize. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.